Okay, so the first story is Abraham and Isaac. And like Pastor Jim's sermon this morning showed us, starting in Genesis 12 all the way up to Genesis 22, where this story comes from, Abraham's faith was like ours, an entire walk of growing in faith. And God brought Abraham through many things, and Abraham had some successes and some failures along the way. And this is well known as kind of the pinnacle of Abraham's faith, which God was testing him. And the story starts off by saying God set off to test Abraham's faith. And so here's what he did. He said to Abraham, he said, "Take your only son, Isaac, and sacrifice him in the place that I'm going to show you, Mount Moriah, or in the area of Moriah. Sacrifice him as a burnt offering." Now the story doesn't tell us what Abraham's response was. We can only imagine, but remember, this was at the end of a lot of relationship building with God and building his faith. So we don't know exactly what his response was, but we know what he did. In verse 3 it says, the next day Abraham went. So he obeyed. He was willing to obey the God that he loved. So what he did was he saddled up his donkey, and he took a couple of his servants, and he got Isaac, and they got enough wood to build an altar. And off they went, and it was a 3-day journey to the region of Moriah, where God was going to show them what mountain it was. So after 3 days, they get there, and Abraham says to his two servants, he says, "Okay, you guys stay here. The boy and I are going up to do a burnt offering sacrifice, and we will return when we're done." So remember, at this point, Abraham trusted God that he would fulfill his promises. He didn't know what it was going to look like, but at this point he was trusting with no knowledge of what was going to happen. So Abraham took the wood, and he had his son carry the wood, and he took the knife, and off they went. When they got to the area where God showed him, Isaac said to his dad, "Dad, where's the offering that we're going to sacrifice? We have the wood and the fire." And Abraham said, "The Lord will provide the offering." And so they got to the place where God showed them, and Abraham built the altar, and they constructed it, probably helped it together. And then the next thing that happens in the story was Abraham puts Isaac on the altar, and the Bible doesn't say if he put up a struggle or not. He was probably young enough and strong enough that he would have struggled. Jim made the guess that he didn't because this boy was raised under the faith of Abraham, and so he was probably trusting of his dad's faith. But whether he struggled or not, we don't know for sure. But Abraham got him on the altar, bound to the altar, and it must have been a terrible scene going on in Abraham's mind. But he trusted God fully. So the time came, and Abraham was ready to obey God. He had Isaac strapped down to the altar. He grabbed his knife and raised it, and was just about to strike his son when a voice from the angel of the Lord said, "Abraham, Abraham, what are you doing? Stop!" And you can almost feel that Abraham probably went like this. And he said, "Here I am, Lord." And the angel of the Lord said, "What are you doing? Do not lay a hand on the boy." And then he said, "Now that I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld your son, your only son. Now I know that you fear God." So here was a father who was giving up his son, speaking to another father that was ready and willing to give up his son. So then Abraham looked up, and they saw the ram that was caught in the thickets. And of course they grabbed that, and that became